Hey guys, Rebel Engine 95 recording live from the local county prison cell. I've gotten into a little bit of a slump, I guess you could call it, with my matchups, and it's literally to the point where instead of doing ones where I've backlogged kind of, I'm coming up with new ones and then immediately doing them. And I've got a lot of stuff going on in the next couple of weeks, so I'm trying to do one every week, but I'm not guaranteeing that. But at the same time, I also want to produce content. I just recently got a Twitter for this channel, with fucking 7 years late. Good job on that. And so yeah, go follow me on Twitter at VerbalEngine95. But this is also this is also just kind of me getting myself to do something, because like I said, I got a lot to do. But you don't care about that anyway. Here, the fight today I'm doing is Gwen Tennyson from Ben 10 versus Rin from the Fate series. There's like a million different ones, so pick one. Or pick all of them, I suppose, actually, because I have to use points of reference from all of them. This was basically born out of me not knowing who the hell to put Gwen in a fight with, because I've seen a bunch of different Ben 10 fights. I've seen Kevin versus Absorbing Man, which is fine, but I'm like, oh well, would they use Kevin? He's a main character, but he's so supplementary to Ben, and then I'm like, well, they did use Ben already. And I've done a couple of Vilgax fights, and honestly, the other characters in Ben 10 are pretty interesting. They're very cool. And I was always a big fan of Ben 10. I mean, the original series I watched when it was on, and I just kind of followed it for the fact that my friends were watching it. And then Alien Force came out, and I was like, what's, I wasn't upset by it. I was just like, wait, there's 10 new aliens? So I have to memorize these now and just ignore the last 10, 15 aliens I memorized? And I just, again, started watching it just because it was on, every week. It was something to watch. And then I really got into it. I was like, this is really good. So I guess I've, over the years, been a Ben 10 fan without really even realizing that I had done it. So I wanted to put Gwen in a fight. And it was like, alright, Gwen versus Supergirl. Nah, it's a squash. Gwen versus Miss Martian. Well, they put Martian Manhunter in a fight first, and then we could talk. Gwen versus Final Fantasy VI protagonist. Nobody cares about 6, unless you're Kafka, I guess. And it just went through this long list, and I was just like, who in the hell would I put Gwen against? And then for some reason, Rin came to mind. Because it wasn't something I saw anywhere. It was just Rin just came to mind, and I was like, that works. Well, I didn't say that at first. I said, does that work? And then I looked into it, and I'm like, oh, that works. And then I started kind of looking into what the characters could do, and I was like, that really works, actually. That's actually they're pretty similar. So anyway, now I'm doing it, and I'm gonna get into it here. So, Gwen is, she is the cousin of Ben and the granddaughter of Max Tennyson. And also the granddaughter of, Verdona. I don't know if she has a last name, actually. But, and Verdona, the wife of Max Tennyson, or at least the grandmother of Gwen, is also an anodite, which is a species of mana, energy beings. They are mature anodites are comprised almost completely of energy, and the energy they're comprised of is mana, which coincidentally is the energy utilized in casting spells and doing magic, which makes Gwen just she has a very, you know, natural affinity for magic because she's literally made up of magical energy. Um, but this anodite biology that she has, this bloodline that she has, allows her to basically shoot energy, create energy fields, like, barriers and stuff, create platforms for herself to run on. She can like kind of create like whips to grab people with. Later down the line in things like Omniverse, she learns how to fly. She learns how to increase her own like physical attributes with it. Like she can increase her jumping height, and she can like punch really hard with it. She learns how to lift things telekinetically, though that could be something else I can get into in a second. She learns a lot of like many different applications, and this is just her tapping into her mana. Because she is an anodite, she is capable of kind of shedding her human form and getting access to this full energy form. The only issue is she doesn't have complete control of it. She still has access to all of this power, but if she were to use too much of it, like, she would risk her body just being, like, herself being absorbed by the energy that she's outputting and just turning herself into pure energy without being able to revert back. And also, it's heavily implied that the amount of power that an anodite, even like an untrained one, could put out would be like enough to devastate planets. Like she said that she had enough power to destroy the entire like hybrid fleet of ships and like their entire army that was on the ground, and like to just completely destroy their entire invasion in like one fell swoop with just like a thought. So she's got an extreme power output, but she can't, if she accesses all of that power, she'll basically just, become one with the fucking Aether. Funny I mentioned Aether with what I'm about to talk about later. So yeah, so she doesn't like to do that much. However, I did say she has an affinity for magic. She started learning magic after Charmcaster kind of gave, after she found one of Charmcaster's books and started learning spells. Like I said, she found she had an affinity for it, not realizing that she was literally composed of mana. But she's also had, like, she's had different magical items at her disposal, but she usually just uses a spell book, which lets her do things like she's been known to, like, slow down time, she's time traveled with it, she's like, melted metal, she's reversed gravity, she can do a ton, just, like I said, telekinesis and all that sort of thing, like, she can do a lot of specific magical, things with it. She's also had charms at her disposal at some point. In the original Ben 10, she destroyed all of them, and I think she might have destroyed all but one of them. And it was the Luck Charm, part of the Keystone of Bezel. In Omniverse, I know they came back to some capacity, but I don't know that she has all those at her disposal, so I would assume not, because, like, now we're getting into complete retcon, but, like, the charm of luck is actually just overpowered, because it, like, A, you can't really calculate against luck, and B, the way it's described is that it reverses Murphy's Law, meaning that anything that can go right will, in her case. So as long as there is a possibility for an outcome in her favor, it will happen. So unless there's a 0% chance of her winning, she will win. So I would think you wouldn't probably put that in. But yeah, so, like, she's also, like, an expert hand-to-hand fighter in karate, judo, things like that. She's a, brilliant student and scholar. She's got a genius tactical mind, genius like biological mind. Like she's got like she's just really, really fucking smart. So yeah, but all of these things I've kind of attributed to her. Her skill set, her mind, her being a tactician and all that can be also said about her opponent, Rin. I do not remember her last name, even though it's in the video. But yeah, so Rin is one of the. I'm not as big on Fate as well. Again, I wanted to watch Fate. It seems really cool, and it seems like something I would watch. There's just fucking 10 million of them. So I didn't feel like starting it for a while. So it's been a while since I've seen Fate, and I kind of dropped off of it. But yeah, so Rin is the master of Archer, who is one of the guardian spirits. But she is also part of a mage guild, which and she's actually in the top 100, I believe, of the mage guild. She does this by being capable of accessing all five elements of power, which are the typical earth, wind, water, fire. But then also she can access the fifth, which is referred to as, what is it, void or ether, I think it's called, where it's kind of like it's hard to explain, but it like when interacting with the other elements, it can bring concepts to material reality using those elements. So like ether, fuck, it's really hard to explain, but she can use it. She can also use she also just has like a base. I think they said it was a curse, but she kind of repurposed it to just be like a projectile. It's called like a Garniel or something like it's some Finnish name. Which is just like a regular magical projectile that she can pretty much use almost unlimitedly. She can create like magical barriers that are, I believe they're like hard light barriers. She can use magical energy to enhance her punches and kicks to the point where she was like fighting against somebody similar with this ability. She was like smashed through solid rock. She's also been able to outpace like superhuman characters like Lancer and whatnot by using this. And she's able to output a lot more magical power than most other mages by way of her specific type of magic, being jewelry magic. She takes gemstones and basically charges them with her magic so that she can use the magic reserves that she has, but also kind of like, it's almost like it's like having a portable charger with you. Like, you can charge your phone, then have that portable charger as backup, except with magic. She has her own magic, and then she has the backup magic that she can cast spells with and draw from with these stones. And each stone is supposed to have like an A-class level spell worth of magic in it, which is essentially enough to like create a super powerful attack. And using 4 of these, she was able to kill Berserker. Well, take one of his lives at least. And Berserker, I would think, scales to like Saber. That's fair, I would say. And Saber was able to destroy an entire city using Excalibur, so this is the kind of power she's outputting. So yeah, and like, now, going into this fight, oh, and she's also like proficient in Kenpo and all that shit. Like I said, she was fighting somebody hand to hand and got smashed through rock. But, so, the similarities in this fight would be that these characters are both descendant from, background. They both have ancestral ties to their powers and end up using it to, fight in these, warlike situations. But also, like I said, there are a lot of similarities in these two powers. Like they both have these tremendous power outputs. They both have this big versatility of power. They both can like they both can enhance their physical attributes. They're both very good hand-to-hand fighters. They're both, very smart, brilliant tacticians. They both have these vast and powerful reserves of power. It's really back and forth. But as I said with the Gwen not getting, like, the charms and whatnot, I think it would only be fair that, not because Gwen doesn't get the charms, but I think it's fair that Rin probably doesn't have access to Archer, simply because, like, these characters aren't really summons. Like, they're people. They're like sentient beings that, like, they're summoned initially, but then, like, they're just there. Like, they're not summoned from, like, nothingness and then they're brought. No, they're summoned and then they're just there with you. So like Archer lives in her house. So, like, I think it's only fair that, like, that would be considered outside help, because, like, she'd have to bring Archer with her, So it would just be Rin by herself. This is very close to call. I think initially Rin has the power output advantage in their just base forms, especially hand to hand, because like I said, Gwen is, like an expert she's like a black belt in karate, she's like black belt in judo, or whatever the equivalent of a black belt is in judo. I haven't looked into that for a while. But like, and Gwen can supercharge her own, like, physical feats, but, like, Rin just has so much more experience with that and is so much more devastating with, like, her martial arts being enhanced. But also the fact that Rin has much more, like, ready access to her crystals, whereas Gwen has to, like, transform in order to match that power output. And like I said, Gwen can't stay in that form for that long, and also can't... Well, she can go all out with it, because it's Death Battle, but if she goes all out, then she risks, being absorbed by the energy. The only thing is, if Gwen does that, she wins. Like, because the amount of power she has compared to Rin at that point isn't even really comparable. Like Rin can destroy characters who could maybe, like, destroy a city. Gwen was said to be able to destroy, like Anodites would be able to destroy, like, an entire army with, like, a thought, like, and this is, like, an entire fleet of ships, like an armada, that's of spaceships, by the way, not even, like, warships or something. So, like, I think the power level's on two different things. And I think with that, it's probably in Gwen's favor. This is very close, and I mean, there could be definite argument that Rin would win. And if this fight ever happened, I could be proven wrong here. But I think Gwen would probably take this. And it's not because of my bias for Ben 10. But I think Gwen would take this just based off of the fact that, she has this huge power output as, like, her final move. But also the fact that, I also think she just has a bigger diversity of abilities. Whereas, like, yeah, Rin has really good offensive magic and can access all four elements and can do shielding and whatnot, but, like, Gwen has just, like, so many other things she can do that I think it's probably Gwen takes this. But anyway, yeah, remember, follow me on Twitter for Belengio95. Anyway, for Belengio95. See ya.